Mark and Dearne, welcome to Campfire Conversations.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I've met you guys before, but we sat around a campfire last night and you made a comment. You said, we loved it the first time, we did it again.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the story.
About 5 years ago now, we, through health reasons and through a couple of other personal reasons, we decided to pack up our house and we moved and we decided we'd go around Australia. We'd been dreaming about it for years and years, and one thing led to another, and we just decided that time was valuable as you get into your older ages or the older years, and we decided that was it. We're going to pack it up and we're going to do it. So we left Coffs Harbour and we took off up into Queensland pretty quickly. We went via Lightning Ridge to start off with, and
so we thought we'd go for 12 months and thought we had funding for 12 months. So off we went, but we didn't have a time plan as to how long we would spend in each state. We probably had the first maybe 12 weeks potentially mapped out, but flexible.
Flexible. Did you stay longer in certain places that you maybe didn't think you would?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought after 3 months we'd totally done the wrong thing. We were in Queensland at the time and we were driving up the road and I just looked at Dearne and said, what have we done? And I was panicking about how we were going to put it all together and how we were going to make the time, because we'd only allowed this 12 months. And Dearne looked at me and said, just get over it, we're going. And off we went. And I didn't enjoy the first 3 months, and then after that period, I just loved every minute of it. And we decided, I think we were up almost near the top end of Australia, up near the tip, that we'd just throw the rule book out. And we just decided we wouldn't plan anymore. We'd just go where the compass took us, and we would stay as long as we wanted to. But that was when we got to the top. We went up to, our goal was to do the 4 points of Australia. So we wanted to do the tip, east, west and south. And we got to the tip of Australia, and we said, you know what, we really need to get a move on, because I think it was like nearly 4 months and we hadn't even got out of Queensland.
And we'd done a lot of travelling in Queensland before that.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a surprise to us. And I guess it was less frustrating, well, not frustrating, but easier to enjoy a trip around Australia when it's not planned. And talking to people on the way who were saying, even 12 months isn't enough to travel around Australia. It's a big place. And until you get out there, you don't realise how big it is. Yeah. Getting back to your question, were there places that we stayed that we didn't know about and stayed longer? And one of those would probably be Chillago. And we didn't really plan on staying there. I think we were going to go there for a day visit and went there, and whether or not it was because we just needed to slow down, regroup, do a load of washing, whatever. And we ended up staying there for a week and loved it. And there is so much to see there.
Where is Chillago?
So
it's between Mount Barnett and Townsville.
West of Cairns?
Yeah, west of Townsville it is, between Townsville and Mount Barnett. And you've got to go up, so it's sort of Townsville up and then down to Mount Barnett. And it was just lovely. And we met the mayor of Chillago.
Probably an ex-mayor. I'm not sure if he was a real mayor. He might have been a real mayor, but yeah.
He came out in all his glory with just his feet. And
how many people lived there?
Oh, you'd be flat out with 100 people there. Yeah. But he...
at some stage it was a big booming mining town, so all that history is still there. The Aboriginal history is all still there. There's the limestone caves are still there. Absolutely heaps to do. And sometimes when you're travelling around, you'll fluke an event in a town, and the town grows whilst you're there and then gets smaller again, and that's just, you meet lots more people as well.
And that happened to you? An event happened to you?
I can't remember if an event happened there. but it has happened to us previous,
Right.
following all those travels. Yeah, but surprised to stay a week in Chiligo.
Okay. So you've made it to the top, and you've decided this is it. We need to get a move on.
Yeah, and we got into the Northern Territory, and that was a bit of a prime moment because we went, woohoo, we're out of Queensland. And once again, the time issue got hold of us again, and we thought we just wanted to do as much justice as our time allowed us, not thinking that we would ever stay out there for a longer time. We just needed to think we would get back, and because that's all our funds allowed us to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into Northern Territory and absolutely loved it. And we couldn't do that justice because we then figured out we've got to keep moving. So, as Dearne said, the distance, you do not realise how far it is until you get out there, and it's just immense. We've got a huge country. So we spent about a month in the Northern Territory doing bits and pieces, and then we went over to WA, and WA is just immense. It's huge. So we went to Broome in WA, and we decided that was lovely, and we wanted to stay there a bit longer, but we couldn't. We knew we had to keep rolling. So we went all the way down the west coast of WA, and once again, it took we just couldn't believe how much out there is to do. And we wanted to try and get in as much as we could, and we went to all the gorges, Carragini, the Pinnacles. We went everywhere that we could and did it, but we still missed stuff, and we kept on saying to each other, we can't go there, we haven't got enough time. So we got into South Australia here, and it was Christmas, so we left in about May, I think it was, and we got to South Australia here, and it was Christmas already, and we were just shaking our heads going, where's this time gone? It was just crazy. And we drew a bit of a map, and we, as everybody does, and we had where we went, and we thought, wow. And we had an engagement in Coffs Harbour that I had to go back to, and we decided, well, we'll shoot across from South Australia to Coffs Harbour. We actually went up to Brisbane first, but that was a different story. And then we came back down to Coffs Harbour and took care of what we had to do down there. But that left us pondering, now what do we do? and Dearne had seen a job in Broome because we loved the Kimberley, but we just couldn't stay there. We were so much out of time. And Dearne saw an ad in the paper to work in the Kimberley, in Broome especially.
And getting back to a different question that before they asked, where were places that we got to where events were on? So whilst we were in Broome, we saw the Staircase to the Moon, the Horizontal Falls, we saw some dinosaur footprints, we saw the Catalinas at the low tide, so we saw the huge lows and the huge highs in the tides, and the scenery there is unbelievable. The blues are blues, the reds are reds, the greens are greens, and it all just blends so well in the Kimberley. So we had 4 absolutely magnificent days, which after that we had to leave, but you really wanted to go back. So I got a job in Broome, and we went back there. So we
just go back before you continue there. You both stopped work and decided to go on this journey, but you had to get back. You gave yourself 12 months to do this journey.
We'd worked out what we thought was a fair budget, and there's a lot of questions that on the social media pages where people say, how much is it going to cost? So because we wanted to do a lot of the events around the country that most people wouldn't do, and getting back to Broome, we went on the seaplanes and the fast boats up through the Horizontal Falls, which is an immense amount of money that most people would not spend because they wouldn't see the value in that as where we could. It's a once in a lifetime thing, and so we decided that we budgeted to do as much as we possibly could, and we knew that once we got back around after the 12 months, it would be either we've got to go back to work or we'd have to dig into the savings, and we really didn't want to do that. So getting back to your question about work, we got offered so much whilst we were going around the first time, and it was amazing because we just didn't want to work because we were on holiday, and we kept on saying to each other, no, we can't do this, we can't work, we've got to enjoy what we're doing. But when Dearne got the job up in Broome, it was lovely. We just enjoyed it so much, and we stayed up there 2.5 years, and it was just amazing because that time flew.
Yeah.
It went so quick that we just really didn't even realise that we'd been there 2.5 years. And in that time, we did get to see the Kimberley. We travelled as much as we could, because you can only travel in the dry season there. You can't travel in the wet, all the roads shut down. So it really became a thing where we'd now been gone nearly 3.5 years from Coffs Harbour. And the time just flew, and we went, when we got to South Australia, we hadn't done the bottom part of Australia. So we said, well, that's the thing, we've got to go to the southern point. That was the 4 main things that we were going to do.
Yeah, so before we went to Broome, we'd managed the eastern point at Byron Bay. The top, we went over to Steep Point, the furthest point on the west coast, so we did that. But unfortunately we had to shorten the trip, so we never done the most southern tip at that stage. And then you can add whatever you like to that, the middle of Australia, the tallest mountain, you can just go on forever. But anyway, we went back to Broome and worked for a bit, and then
and some friends of ours from Brisbane wanted to do the Canyon Stock Route, and I don't know if people know what that is, but it's one of the world's most remote tracks, and we've got it here in Australia, and it is the world's longest track, and it's in some places stock route. Yeah. It's not a track, it is a actual stock route. There's no road, and our friends wanted to do that. Now, because we're in the Kimberley and it ends up at Halls Creek in the Kimberley, we said, well, look, whichever way you want to do it, because you can do north-south or south-north, whichever way you want to do it, we're in the state, we can do it with you. So they decided that was their time, and we got all the permits organised, and we met up with them at Meekatharra, so we had to come down nearly 2,000 kilometres to meet up with them. But we did that, and then we came all the way back up through the Canyon Stock Route, and once again, in the things to do in a lifetime, that was probably up there in the top 5 things that we've ever done in our lifetime.
So to do that track though, what were you towing?
You can tow campers on it, but they don't recommend it. Right. So we took a rooftop tent. We took the boat off the top of the car, and we had a rooftop tent put on there, and we loaded up with gallons and gallons of fuel and supplies, because there's only one place in the middle, so it's 1,700 kilometres long. There's only one place in the middle where you can get fuel, so you have to have enough fuel to do around about the 900 kilometres. And when you're four-wheel driving, you can chew that up pretty quickly. So we had about 260 litres of fuel on, and off we went.
But yeah, before we did that, when we decided that we were planning on leaving Broome, because we'd already, so Coffs Harbour all the way around once, Coffs Harbour, then back to Broome, stay there for 2.5 years and work. Then we both resigned again and based out of Broome for a little while. So we did the Gibb River Road, because even though we'd been in the Kimberley for 2.5 years, we'd never done the Gibb River Road. So we ended up just doing circles out of Broome for a while. So we did the Gibb River Road and came back, and we did all that in the same car. So we were set up just to go without towing anything. And then we did the Kimberley and came back to Broome, picked up the caravan, and then continued the rest of the lap.
Yeah, and then we actually got back round to South Australia again, and I know this sounds funny, but we took back off up to Brisbane. We had some other stuff we had to take care of in Brisbane. So we left Brisbane after that and then headed back down south, and we did all of the high country, all of the Kosciuszko.
The east coast down.
Yeah, we travelled all the east coast, yeah.
And then whilst we were there, I walked to the highest mountain, walked to the top of Mount Kosciuszko. So
from where?
from Threadbrae.
From the lift.
Right.
So you catch the normal ski lift up and then you walk. So I think it's 12 k's return. So lots of people do that. So we did that. That was a bit of a story though, wasn't it? Because we were booking in to do that, and it was on the to-do list. So it was a rainy, overcast, awful day. So we get there and we're paying for the tickets, and the lady said, it's going to rain today. Do you still want to go? Yes. We're from Broome, so big storms don't bother us, but we'll still go. It might get a little bit windy up there because the storm's coming through. Do you still want to go? Yes, we'll still go. She's talking like 30 knots. We're going, yes, look, we're here. We're going to go. We might get a bit of lightning as well. Do you still want to go? Yes, we still want to go. It's this poor lady. And there's still people buying tickets and going up in the lift. They're all still going. She said, well, if it does start to rain and the lightning does come, can you please just step off the metal grate? No worries. So off we went, did that, came back. And it was raining, wet, cold, but,
You did it.
Challenge achieved.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. But you've been in South Australia for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, so we came back around the southern coast and we did the most southern point, and stopping in all the other places around. And I'm just about to I do a few videos of just personal ones that we watch occasionally, and I've got to put that trip together. So we did all the first lap around once, but on the second, when we came back around the second time, I've got all those to do now, and we had to come to South Australia for a personal reason, and that got sorted. But whilst we were here, we said, well, we'd really like to do a lot more in South Australia because it's a beautiful state. And so Dearne got a job here in Wallaroo, and I've been sort of taking care of what I've had to take care of personally, and hopefully within the next, 6 months we'll decide whether we're going to stop here in South Australia or whether it's time to move back and either go back to Coffs Harbour or whatever we're going to do. But
so have you, when you left home originally, going back, what is that, 5 years ago? Yeah. Did you sell everything up?
No.
So you've still got a base?
Yeah, we still have a home base, and I believe you have to do that. If things go pear-shaped, you need to be able to go back and have somewhere to be, and that's our own personal opinion.
Choice, yeah.
So no, we still have our home in Coffs Harbour, and we would like to keep going, but there's a limit on how much when you get into the later years of your life that you can do, and we probably need to settle just for a little bit now, recharge the bank account, and get ourselves to where we need to be for later on in life now.
I was sitting last night with you around the campfire, and you said that you were involved in trucking many years ago.
Yep.
So that was the thing. And Dearne, you're in nursing, correct?
Nursing, absolutely.
Nursing. Okay. So, mate, just one quick question. As a truck driver, what's it like when you pull up behind a caravan?
I get frustrated sometimes with caravans, that's for sure.
Okay, stop now. As a caravaner, what's it like to have a big truck pull up behind you?
Not a problem. Not a problem. I think if you're in communications with them, 99% of truck drivers will play the game. They understand. I try as much as I can to sit on 100k an hour, which 90% of the time I can do, and I will always call a truck through. And I know we're not supposed to do that, but it is safety, and I think that if you can communicate with a caravaner, it's 100% of the battle if you can communicate. And it so frustrates me when caravanners don't have UHFs and they sit at 80k an hour and you're in a truck. It is nearly impossible to get around them.
I think it's just as frustrating when you're towing a caravan and you're sitting behind another caravaner doing 80k's an hour as well. I understand the whole fuel consumption thing, however, it's still frustrating.
And And I have a lot of truck driver friends that own caravans. A lot. Not just one or two. I could name at least a dozen blokes that I know that have caravans. So we are our own community. And as Dearne said, we have had some absolutely frustrating times behind some people that really shouldn't even be on the road. And I know that's a tough thing to say, but yeah, we've been in caravan parks where some people can't even back their vans into sites. And I just think that's those people, they've got every right to be on the road, but go and do a course on how to use your van.
Absolutely, we recommend that. Hey, all right, so we know Dearne picked up work nursing. What did you do?
Up in Broome, I worked in a car dealership for about 3 months, but I really only did that as a favour to a bloke who wanted me to help him out. And cars isn't really my forte, and I was a service advisor at the dealership. And a job at the boat shop came up, at the Broome boat shop, and I went along and I talked to the owner of the boat shop, who owns another boat shop down in Perth, and I decided I'd give that a crack, and it was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. It was the biggest laugh I think I can say that I've had working. And once again, I think if you've got the persona and you've got the attitude that you can work, you'll find work. Been a bit harder here in South Australia, because I think South Australia is going through a fair bit of a downturn at the moment, and it has been harder here, especially on the York Peninsula. But at the end of the day, as long as one of us is working, we can survive. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you'll do it again?
Oh, I think we'd love to do it again. We would do it a bit differently, and we've both talked about this. Instead of driving this massive amount around Australia, we would just target the areas where we wanted to go back to, and away we go. It's like a lot of people don't realise the Kimberley is the whole size of New South Wales. So from one end of it to the other, you're driving the whole state of New South Wales. So it puts it into perspective. You need to be able to go to somewhere, have your time, then go back. So if we did it again, we'd probably do like the 3 month stint, where we'd go to somewhere, do somewhere for 3 months and then come back again. That's probably where we'd go from here on in, yeah.
Dearne, what have you learned about Australia, Australian people, and maybe about yourself on your trip? Did you learn anything about yourself?
I think you learn that the Australian people are all, quite friendly, quite open, and we're all out there to have a chat and enjoy and relax. And I think that's a good thing when you're travelling around Australia. And most people are very welcoming, and also quite happy to look out for each other. So that, that safety aspect is out there as well, And if you pull up of a night time, because a lot of people are scared before they go that if they get to a campsite and it's unfriendly, they won't be safe. And generally you tell people, if you don't feel safe, you move on. You've got your caravan, you get back in your car, you pack it up and you move on to the next place until you do find somewhere where you feel safe. And there's actually quite a lot of those places out there where you feel safe, because we all, as caravanners, you tend to, end up in a group if you want to. You can be solo if you want to, or if you want to stay in the safety of the group, and whether that's free camping or whether that's going into a caravan park. What did I learn? I probably learnt resilience about myself. When you're out there, you can do it. The decision to go in the first place, you talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. Yes, you put on the bucket list, love to go around Australia. To make it happen, sometimes you think it's a hard thing, and then sometimes when you make that date, without even having everything organised and planned, we picked a date and then we actually brought it forward a couple of months. But once you have that date, then you've got to plan it and make it happen. So that's what happened. So then we left. So I think I learned, resilient, that I can resign from work and find work. It's not something that you want to do all the time. I don't want to resign every year.
Had you done that before? Had you swapped hospitals and jobs before, or this was the first time you were taking a punt and having a go?
No, I've resigned from hospitals before. We started our career in New South Wales, but then went to Brisbane and spent a lot of time there. As a nurse, if you want to go, because I'm trained as a midwife, every hospital can you do midwifery. So, and you've got to go somewhere for skills. So you've got to keep your training up, or you will lose those skills. So every so often I've had to resign to keep those skills up, but it's certainly not something you want to do a lot of, because you do need to maintain those skills, and to do that you need to stay somewhere for a period of time. So it is good, and in my career I've stayed in hospitals for 10 years, and I think the shortest time I've stayed somewhere would probably be 2.5 years, like Broome. So I generally don't try and swap hospitals, but I think in life in general, if it's something that's best for you or best for your family, that's where your job usually takes you. So I have resigned from positions before, but that was a big decision, to just resign and leave and not go somewhere to another job. And usually that's why you resign, because you're going to somewhere better and bigger and doing what you want to do. And this was just to resign and travel with no other income. So that was a big decision. But once we got the date, I think it's easier to set out and go.
I like to just throw words which I just think of out of the air, pull them out of the air, throw words at people and just see what they say. And that can be long answers or short answers, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do that with you and see what you come up with. Fuel.
If you don't have it, you can't get anywhere.
And it's the most expensive part of your holiday. Once again, Dearne's right. If you don't have it, you're not going anywhere. And I'll relate back to a bit of a funny story here. We met this lovely couple going along the road, and he had exactly the same setup as I had. Same van, same car, same everything. And we met them at the Bungles. And lovely people. And he was allowed $150 a week for fuel. So, and in our cruises, we all know that $150 is like one tank of fuel. So he had to plan his trips for $150 a week of fuel. And it was so funny because we'd followed them down the west coast of WA for a little bit, and we'd see them pulled up on the side of the road, and that would be it for the day. That's as far as he could go. And it was the funniest thing we'd ever seen. And we followed them for a little bit, and eventually we had to get going because we were short of time. But they're out there forever. They'd done what you'd said, where they'd sold everything up. They were out there forever. So the fuel is very expensive. The most we paid was in Coonawarrigi, which is up the Canning Stock Route, and for listeners, might open some of their eyes, it was $3.60 a litre.
Wow.
And we'd burnt through something like nearly 400 litres of it. So, that was a pretty expensive fuel bill that day.
The tip, the top end of Australia, what's it like?
It's beautiful. It's hard to get there. It's car braking to get there. You can definitely damage vehicles going there. Well worth doing it, and I think if you are serious about your four-wheel driving, if you're serious about your caravan, then everyone would go there. But the trick is to take your time doing it, because we saw so many vehicles broken up that road.
Yeah, I think everyone travelling to the tip needs to give themselves an extra week, because there's a lot of frustrated people who go to the tip who have so many weeks of school holidays, and that can potentially cause problems for them. So we came across a few of those up the tip who had car problems and time problems, with a little bit of frustrated yelling and screaming. So I think anyone going to the tip needs to take longer.
Okay. First aid kit.
We didn't open it, I don't think. We probably didn't open the first aid kit at all, but you just need to take your basics, for cuts. There's hospitals all around Australia. We're a pretty lucky country. We do have some nasty things floating around here. I think the only thing that slowed us down was getting bitten by sandflies in a very remote location, and we didn't have anything. We tried everything just about to put on there because we were pretty limited in what we had. And then eventually we just went into a town and got something. You either make do or you go and find help.
So we had a full first aid kit, and because Dearne's in the profession, well, we knew what we wanted to take. And it's more for other people than probably for yourselves. We always tried to not put ourselves in harm's way. If it was something we thought we shouldn't be doing, then we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Spare parts.
I just carried filters, fuel filters, air filters, and a spare fan belt, and that was it. Now, people I've seen have a whole carload of repair parts.
Extra weight, of course.
Exactly. It is pointless doing it if you maintain your vehicle properly before you go. You maintain it while you're going. We had it serviced every 10,000 kilometres. So, and that's only a thing of ringing up the next town that you're going to, giving them a little bit of notice, and they will accommodate you, and having it professionally done. Because we saw so many people out there broken down that were backyard mechanics. And there was one place in Humpty Doo that we needed to get some parts for the van, and we pulled into this workshop, and it was the funniest sign I've ever seen in my life, and it went something like this. Our hourly rate is $100 an hour. If you've looked at it and diagnosed it, it's $105 an hour. If your mate and you have looked at it and attempted to fix it, it's $120 an hour. If you have attempted to fix it and it is broken beyond all repair, it's $150 an hour. And if you tell us how to do it, go away and find somebody else. And I took a photo of it because it was just classic.
Yeah.
So, and you do get to see a fair bit of that out there where people say, I can fix this. Well, you can't. You've got to keep your vehicles maintained and just pay the money.
I guess probably the next word is preparation for a journey. How much you need to prepare for it. What do you do to prepare for it?
I think with social media these days, you can get an awful lot of information, but you can also get a lot of disinformation.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got to be careful what you rat through there. When we went up the Cannon Stock route, I just changed all my tyres from our first trip around Australia, and I just went back. I put a set of knobblies on to go around Australia, which was stupid because we were on the highway more times than what we were on the dirt. And when we went up the Cannon Stock route, I talked to a friend of mine that was a tyre expert, and he owns a tyre company, and he said, look, ATs are fine, you've just got to watch your tyre pressures. Well, I went up the Cannon Stock route, all these guys had prepared all their other vehicles that we went with, they'd spent a fortune on changing all their tyres and put in knobblies and sand tyres on them and whatnot. And I just went up there with a set of normal ATs, road tyre, 25, 75, yeah. And we didn't have a problem, did we? We didn't have a flat tyre, we didn't have an issue. We did have one up the Gibb River Road, but that was my fault. I didn't see a rock and we hit the rock. But preparation is a big thing, tyres is a big thing, and if you do that and just have the confidence to maybe not listen to too much of what's on social media, because it can really work against you rather than for you.
The last word that I was going to say is advice. If somebody was contemplating doing this journey, what sort of advice would you give them?
Just do it.
Do it, yeah. Just do it. plan a day and work for that day and just do it.
Because I think you can find every excuse not to do it, but you can never find an excuse to do it. So I think you've just got to jump in. It's tough, yeah, it's not easy. And as I said, 3 months down the track, I thought, what have we done? But we had such a good time, and if I can relate to other people out there, just do it. Just plan a date and go, because it'll be the best thing you ever do.
It's very achievable, and there are a lot of people out there doing it. So you can put it into your life. If you've got young kids, you can have 12 months off work and do it. And sometimes if you put it in perspective, 12 months around Australia is probably the same as, 4 or 6 weeks overseas cost-wise. So cost-wise around Australia, if you can budget, you can probably do 12 months in one holiday as opposed to 6 weeks overseas on a good trip. So it is achievable. You just got to plan it and have confidence in yourself that you can do it.
Mark and Dearne, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It's been great.